Howdy, historians. Welcome to Africa Part 4. Today we're talking about East Africa. So if we grab our handy dandy region map, we're looking at the colors in the yellow gold here. We're talking about countries like Ethiopia, Somalia, Kenya, Tanzania, Madagascar, amongst others. Just a couple there for you. So, West Africa in the yellow. Just a couple countries to shout out there. Now, of course, we start off talking about trade. There was lots of trade in East Africa because they had a very strategic location. So, if we grab this map, pop it up nice and big here, we can see some of the trade routes that East Africa was able to connect into historically. So West Africa has this very strategic location. It's connected to the Middle East. It's connected to North Africa. It even has connections into India, Southeast Asia, as far as Japan, right? So there was lots of trade that went on here in these Western areas. And there were lots of different items that were connecting around and being traded. So from the interior of Africa, groups would, bring items out and trade things like ivory and animal hides and rhino horns and gold. They also connected into South Africa, a region we'll talk about later, where they had things like spices, precious stones, cotton, um, excuse me, sorry, iron, spices, precious stones like diamonds, cotton. They connected in with the Mediterranean, right? And the Mediterranean is going to be bringing things in like brass and copper and iron tools, wine, olive oil, linen, cloth. So there are all these different items that are bouncing around and being traded from lots of different regions, lots of different people. So trade absolutely flourished. So then we know cultural diffusion is going to increase as well. So we saw a lot of developed societies in this area with very rich civilizations because they had influence from so many different areas and so many different regions. We also saw from the international trade network a very diverse group of people brought together, religiously speaking. Now, Christianity is going to be the predominant religion in this area, but you also had some more, like tribalistic faiths and polytheistic practices. You even had Judaism being practiced in this area. And of course, there was Islam too, because Islam is the predominant religion of both the Middle East and North and West Africa. We'll see some of it in Central Africa as well. So West Africa is trading with some of these areas and close to some of these regions. So there was some Islam. So again, Christianity was the main one. The Mediterranean traders brought it. It took hold of much of the area. But as Islam started to spread, many people kept their Christianity, but this did lead to some tension. Religious differences are very big and they're very difficult to overcome. And historically, we've seen lots of violence between different, groups of people that have different religions. We've seen that throughout the year and we see it throughout time, even in our modern society today. So there was some conflict. There were some civil wars. There was some violence that broke out as a result of these religious differences. But Christianity maintained its hold, and there's still a lot of people that practice Christianity in that region today. And we, in general, see a huge blending of cultures in this region, in this part of Africa, East Africa. Again, a lot of it is because of the trade, right? International trade created a very diverse and culturally diffused culture in East Africa. You have Africans, Arabs, Europeans, Middle East, people from the Middle East, from Southeast Asia, from India. You even had some Chinese traders coming. And as all this trade increased, so did marriages between Africans and non-Africans. So that again leads to a big blending of cultures. And it was something that people in this region were pretty open to as well. When a non-African man married an African woman, the non-African man was allowed to own property, settle down, right? They were accepting of different people from different backgrounds, so that just increased the cultural diffusion and the blending of cultures. We even saw a new language created in this area called Swahili, which took Arabic words and kind of fused them into Bantu, B-A-N-T-U, which is a language that was spoken in East Africa before we started to see a lot of trade and blending of cultures. So this new Swahili is a blend of Arabic and Bantu, which is just a great example of the blending of cultures that took place in East Africa because of all of their trade and their connection into all these different trade networks. So very, very diverse area with lots of cultural diffusion based on all of their advanced trade networks. All right, that is East Africa. Next up, we're going to check out Central and South Africa.